Well, you can drive it up actually, you know more about it than we do.
yeah. How do you tell I managed to get it on?
Here's our latest acquisition. This is our Humber Pig, just bought from an auction. Graham's been down and picked it up from us, for us, and first look round, she's in absolutely excellent condition. A lot of the old squaddies will recognise this. This was one of the vehicles that was used in Northern Ireland. I've no doubt this has seen quite a bit of action in its time. Like I say, a quick look round. Underneath looks pretty good. That's usually where the damage will be. So fingers crossed she'll start. We'll get her off and be able to give her a real good look over.
So our newest acquisition here at Armourgeddon, our Mark I Humber Pig. Now we've just bought this one from all the way over in Hereford and brought it over to our collection here in Leicestershire. Now this vehicle was originally from the 1950s and used well up into the 1990s. So let's get it off the lorry. And what a beauty she is. So like I say, this is our Humber Pig Mark I. Now this is actually the second one in our collection. We have already got one that's located in the museum, in the Cold War part of the museum, but why only have one when you can have two? Now you're probably all wondering how much we ended up paying for this. So we bought it from a company called Brightwells. They're a big auction company. They've actually got the MOD contract at the minute, so they quite often sell off military vehicles, but I believe this was a private one. So this was this one and a Saracen. I think, I presume an old boy had it and they just decided to sell it. And we ended up paying for this one, all in, including the extra fees, ended up costing us £7,000. So a pretty good deal. Obviously, it's not 100% perfect. There's always going to inevitably be little bits on it. And by perfect, it's sort of the back end. I'll show you that in a second because it's not 100% original. Everything else on it, though, is. It's just one slight little thing, which I'll show you in a moment. We'll have a quick look in the back. Overall, she's in nice condition. The only thing that I've noticed so far is it's missing this panel just here. Really random, I have no idea. I presume he was driving it once or someone knocked into it, which is why they removed it, but in the end of the world, that's an easy enough fix. But when you look inside, you'll see the slight unoriginal bit. So, make sure I don't slam the door. These benches just here. Now, I believe the old boy, according to the information that we have on the vehicle, one of the guys who owned it, they decided to put all this extra comfy padding in. You can usually tell it's not original because being British Army, it's never going to be comfortable, as I'm sure a lot of ex-squaddies would say. So something like this is a dead giveaway. But everything else inside, from what we can tell, is original. But yeah, these seats definitely aren't. But we're probably going to keep them in, just because with this vehicle, we're thinking we might start taking it to some shows. And if we do so, you know, want to drive it around, having something a little bit comfier is probably a little bit better for us. Now, just before we hop in the driver's seat and we take it for a little bit of a drive, there is one thing you'll notice, and we're a bit confused on it. We need to do a little bit of research, but it's the canvas that is put on top. So we're a little bit confused about it, mainly because although they did originally come with a canvas, that was when they didn't have the armour on top. Now, this one is a Mark I, and there are some photos of it originally not having the armour on top, and it was just a canvas, which we'll show you just now, we'll put on screen just now. So the only thing we can sort of think is maybe it's sort of in homage to that. We're not too sure. Let us know in the comments. Did they ever have the armour and then put these on top as well? Just let us know if you know. All right, let's go drive. So now we're in the driver's area of the Humber Pig, and you can see she is in fantastic condition, pretty much got everything in here. So let's take her for a bit of a drive. Turn the isolator on, if I can reach that. There's that. And hopefully she should just start straight up. So I believe that's on just there. Make sure she's in neutral, and let's start her. There we go. Oh, I've even left the window wipers on. There we go. That's how good this vehicle is. The window wipers actually work. You wouldn't expect that. I wonder if this one works. Look at that. They're usually one of the first things to break because, as you can imagine, people just wouldn't maintain them. But that just shows how nice this vehicle is. So, just like any normal car at the time, got your clutch down here, got your brake, and then you've got your accelerator and your gear selector. Reverse first, all the way up to 5th gear. Off the top of my head, I can't remember how fast this vehicle can go, but I'll have a little look at that later and let you guys know. And handbrake just down there as well. So, let's go for a bit of a drive. There we go. Oh. Not forwards. Help if I go backwards. There we go. So, a bit of history about the Humber Pig. So, obviously it's an armoured truck which was used by the British Army from the 1950s until the early 1990s. It's mostly known for its service in Northern Ireland during the worst of the Troubles, and in total they made 1,700 of these vehicles. Now, I find this really interesting as the Pig is one of the main vehicles that you see a lot around the show circuits and in museums to this day, although it was only made in limited numbers. Obviously, they had the Mark 1 and the Mark 2, so the weights did differ a little bit, but the Mark 1 weighed about 4.8 tonnes and the Mark 2 weighs about 6.5 tonnes in total. You would have 8 people in the vehicle, you'd have 2 in the crew position, and then you'd have 6 blokes in the back. This is definitely quite difficult to see where I'm going, mainly because only one of the wing mirrors actually works, but also because these sides aren't down, that's all the vision you've got. Now, military vehicles aren't known for giving you that much vision anyway, but this definitely is not the nicest, especially because although it's not horrendously wide, it feels like you are, especially when you've got those boxes down the side. But let's see what we can do. Like that, drives lovely. And be interesting how the suspension is, especially on our driveway. So Dave, this is when we find out the brakes don't work.
I've been assured that they do.
Now, one thing I have just noticed as we're driving around, there is actually a reversing camera. I should have spotted that a minute ago, but that is going to help in a second when we turn it back round. Drop it now. Oh. Oh. That's the issue with these old girls. Oh. There we go, there's first gear. Take it nice and steady, we'll get around the corner, and back we go up. Right, this is time to see if the reversing camera's any good. It's a bit weird because it goes the other way, but that's alright. You can sort of see down there. It's not the best, but it's alright. Hey, fighter. I'm riding the clutch a little bit, I do know. It's not the best. First time driving this. And you can tell it hasn't got power assisted. There we go. Right, let's head back up. Turning circle is actually quite nice on this. It's not bad. Not the best, but not bad at all. Seems like everything works though. Miles per hour, revs per minute, they all work. This was a bloody good buy. Right. Let's go park her up. Park her up and we'll talk about the history of this vehicle. There we go. Handbrake on, and then turn her off. It should just be as easy as. Look at that, beautiful. Now, while we were just filming the video on the Humber Pig, we just had a delivery, and I've already opened it just to make sure it's spelt correctly. But here we are. There we go, the 100,000 subscriber play button in all of its beauty. There we go. But a big thank you to everyone who's helped us get this. We've still got amazing videos hopefully coming up. And remember, without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do all of this. With our collection, the whole thing is pretty much, it's privately funded. So obviously we do our military vehicle driving days, entrance to the museum, all of that sort of stuff. All the money goes into preserving these vehicles. So, you know, if you do want to support us like you have already by subscribing to the channel, but if you do want to support us and help us restore these vehicles, please, you know, come to the museum, come check it out. Like I say, every penny does go towards restoring these amazing vehicles. Now, the engine they put in this is what they call the Rolls-Royce B60 6-cylinder 4.2 litre petrol engine. And funny enough, it's actually the exact same engine as what they put in the Ferret Scout cars. Now, we will be doing a lot more research into this vehicle before it goes into our museum. But like I say, if you guys do know about this canvas, is it original? Did they ever put them on the armoured ones? I have no idea. Like I say, we will be doing a lot more research before we actually put it in the museum. But if you guys know, please do let us know below in the comments. But reading all this is so interesting. Just being able to find out the history of this vehicle. I mean, you know, it's physically being, you know, flames are being thrown at it. Absolutely amazing to learn about that. Now, to give you an idea of the history about when it came out of the army, says here it was disposed of by the army in 1993 and bought by 3 guys. Afterwards, in 1998, well, I believe it was the guy who owned it for the majority of its period in civilian hands, and he seems to have completely restored it, made it look absolutely beautiful. Reading on this, it says he's replaced the complete rear axle assembly, which, bit of common knowledge in these vehicles, you quite often have to do, mainly because the vehicle body, the chassis, isn't strong enough for the extra armour on top. So a big issue with these vehicles is when they are extra armour, the axles will quite often just start to break apart. So I'm going to presume that's why he's had to completely repair the rear axle assembly. He's dismantled the engine, he's removed 2 tons of armour, he's built new rear doors, new pistol ports, new visors, new windscreen, bench seats, lockers. 57 differences between this vehicle and the standard Army Mark 1 Pig. As you can imagine with most vehicles that come out of the Army, they're inevitably going to be changed quite a bit. Doesn't remove the fact that this vehicle is an absolutely beautiful original vehicle. It's obviously just going to have little bits done to it just to keep it, you know, keep it restored. Now, one thing I find very interesting, and you find this with all types of different military vehicles, is how obviously they were used to protect the crew inside. So obviously with this, you have the armour going around it to protect all the guys in the back, but it's quite interesting the different ideas they came up to protect the driver and the co-driver. Obviously you can see up here, they have got a couple hatches, I presume that they can poke their heads out through the top, which they can close back down, but just here. So obviously that glass, you can look straight through it. On the outside, however, there is another piece of armour that comes down, covers it, and it leaves about that much of a space, so probably, what, about 2 inches by about 18 inches gap to be able to see. Now, you can imagine why they needed to when you're getting stuff thrown at you, you know, firebombs, all that sort of stuff. You need to protect these guys as much as you can. But you can imagine driving down the road, being quite worried for your life, and looking through something like that, it's not going to be the nicest. And then you've got things like this. Obviously, you need to be able to look out your right and left every now and again. So you've got these normal hatches that go like so. I presume that's probably why that's been smashed. If you see the wing mirror just there. But you've also got this little stuff, this little window. Now, I'm not 100% sure exactly on what it was for. I presume it's to be able to hand pieces, you know, talk through or hand pieces through while still, you know, being a lot more protected, only opening up that bit. But if you guys know the answer to that, by all means comment down below, because I'd love to know a little bit more about this vehicle. Now, there is a few little bits and bobs in here, one of which I can't get out, but there is a little box there that you can't get out. And there is also something that Gidge would have liked, a load of spark plugs. There you go. I think, what's that? There's 10 of them in there. To give you an idea, when we were working on the Ferret Scout car, we had to buy, I think, 6 or 8 of these. Yeah, had we waited another month, we could have got a load for free, but oh well. But one thing I find quite interesting is just down here. Now, this is where, obviously, the fuel's going to go in. Quite interesting that it's inside of the crew compartment. Looking at it, it makes complete sense, because obviously you don't want something like that, which is going to be surrounded by other people, especially in the Troubles, where, you know, in theory they could open up and just throw something down it. So again, it's quite an ingenious idea, quite a simple idea, but a great idea nonetheless. Now, we didn't just buy this for the fun of it, although it is very fun. We do actually have a bit of a plan for it. Now, we are rearranging the museum. Hopefully, it'll either be in the next 2 months or maybe this winter. We're going to completely rearrange the Cold War section of the museum, extend the World War II bit, overall just make it all a lot more interesting. And this is where this is going to come into play. So, as I said earlier, we have already got a Humber Pig, and we do now have 2 ferret scout cars. So what the sort of plan is, because they were all in Northern Ireland, what we're thinking, we're actually going to be using them as a bit of a Northern Ireland display. And we've also got a Saracen as well, a Saracen personnel carrier. We haven't really thought it all the way through yet. We may only use one of them, we may use both, we're not too sure. But that's the sort of grand plan for it. That'll be a really interesting one. There we go, our newest vehicle into the Armourgeddon collection. Hope you guys have enjoyed the video, and if you do know anything about these vehicles, by all means comment down below. We'd love to know what you guys think. But thank you very much again, and a huge thank you for the 100,000 subscribers. We've got loads more videos coming, and it's going to be some really interesting stuff. Thank you very much. See you guys later.